Hello, people of the internet. Today, you join me in 1977 with this vehicle. It's actually got some chrome out of place. I'll have to fix that. But you'll see it's basically a premium American car, the kind that will come with a V8. But all is not as it seems, because now it's 1987. Yes. We have to update this vehicle basically because the company's struggling and we need a new engine to keep it going. And you see, the technology is slightly behind. Solid axle leaf is what it would have really come with back in the 70s, but we're going with axle coil because it's the 80s and we need to keep it somewhat competitive. Interesting, leaf lowers that rear end slightly. Slightly strange way of doing things, but if it works, it works. Now the design. Come on. Come on, you old machine. Now, there's our vehicle. From the outside, we've got a sunroof, we've got some chrome. All in all, nothing too bad. It looks okay. The chrome isn't perfect there either, but it works enough for me. And we may do something with the chrome, we'll have to see. But for now, this is what we've got to work with. It is rear drive, and we're going to paint it kind of midnight purple, would that be? I'd say it's a bit lighter than midnight purple. Maybe a bit more glossy. I think that's a fairly nice colour. A bit too glossy, actually. Can we bring that down? Yeah, there we go. That looks quite nice to me. The tail is very, very long, but I don't want to bother changing it now because it will mess up my chrome and hurt the weight balance. Now, this is the engine we've got. It's going to be turbocharged eventually, but it is a inline 6. It's a 3-litre engine, although I will probably change that. I'm thinking we'll go for more like 4 litres. It is an American car, so we shouldn't have too many problems doing that. Come on. There we go, just under 4 litres. Should be a good size for this car, and it apparently fits in easily, which makes things even better. So I'm going to develop this engine and show you the end result. Okay, so I've built the engine. It is a tiny amount larger than it was before. Now it's a 40-45cc, but it's still technically a 4-litre engine. And I'm pretty happy with the result. I did try messing with the bore and stroke, but I completely messed the engine up. So I eventually just decided to leave it the way I originally started with. I mean, I did play with all the other settings over here, like compression and cam profile and whatever else there is. But I couldn't quite get it to work as I wanted it to, so this is why it's the way it is. It's still cast iron with a push rod head and an aluminium head as well, aluminium head cover even. Now, I was just looking at the Buick GNX and it's quite close to that actually. It's 250cc's larger, but it's the same number of cylinders and same number of valves, so we can have a look at that for competitiveness, but that has got a cast iron head, just mention that while I'm here. I've selected these with an average engineering time, although now I think about it, yeah, you see the RPM is not that high, it revs to 5200 at its peak, so I could probably run full cast iron if I wanted to. Mind, it messes with the compression, or does it? That's odd, the compression's always been off. Does it just say reducing power? No. We have bottom end problems, but reducing reliability. Okay, I'll have to sort that out. I'm sure I didn't see that a moment ago, though. So, how is it until we have... It's knocking there. Still knocking. There we go. So I think I found a source of a knocking. The knocking was the pistons. Okay. Yeah, it looks like we're forced into going with forged there. I think we can go with any of these stuff though. And the compression's fixed itself, that's interesting. So I think if we want, we can just go with cast iron on all this stuff because it doesn't rev high enough. There's valve flow, that's not really an issue. Yeah, engineering time is average on that, so Yeah, I can see forged steel. Keep these. Yeah, average engineering time is as low as it goes, I think, other than the pistons, but then we've already gone through that. We can't change that. So I've had a look at that now. That's good. Cam profile. Ooh. Yeah, I can get another horsepower, but it affects the economy. I tried to balance it out reasonably well. Also, I wanted it to rev low because it gives me better torque. Now, the GNX engine, it makes its power. It makes 276. I'm about to say 176, no. At 4400 RPM. So, we're about 14 horsepower ahead of that. Not bad by any means. And we're about 10 torques below it. So, you know, we've got a compromise here, but I think it's one people will be willing to accept for the extra power. And, you know, overall, this is not a bad unit. Push rods, yes. The push rod made it harder. I could have just stuck an overhead cam on it and made it a lot easier, but I wanted a traditional American push rod, so that's why I've used that. Now, let's let the engine run so you can hear it. You'll see here, if you listen very, very carefully, you may hear a slight engine growl, but not much, and then it's just turbo after about 2,500 RPM. So yeah, you spend probably more than a third of the RPM range just lagging, but what can you do? It's a fairly early turbo engine. They weren't ideal for that. Until, you know, engines got better in general and we were less reliant on the turbo. The lag is going to be there. Now we have manual, who's showing 8 gears there. Nah, I think it was on the 1 gear. I think we're on the 4 gear manual transmission. 4 speed even. I don't know why I didn't just say that originally. Now the Buick had a automatic, but we're not trying to compete with that as a luxury car. This is more sporty, muscle car kind of thing. So I think we'll have a gear differential maybe. No, Vicious is a lot cheaper. We're going to need it to put the power down, let's be honest. We'll have medium compound, 200 and something. Oh, they're not very good. Well, I'm going to have to change those because 205s are pitiful, really. Unless it won't let me change the wheel arch, will it? How odd. I can seem to change the width of them, but they've got a very odd way of doing it and they won't come out very far. There we go. Yeah. This is strange, but it gives me wider tyres, that's the important thing. Oh dear. I've gone to the wrong menu. No. Right, this is not ideal, but I'll just have to put better tyres on it as opposed to wider ones. Oh dear. 225s, they are absolutely dreadful for a car with this level of power. But then there's nothing I can do about it. 290 horsepower, and that's what I've got to put it down. Yeah, I would say semi-slicks, but it's a muscle car, let's be honest. Only today a muscle car's starting to need semi-slicks. You need about 400 horsepower, I would imagine, before you require semi-slicks, not 300. But these are 80s tyres still. I want it to be a generally usable car. I don't want to go too crazy. Now, magnesium wheels I think we'll go for. And they are a bit crazy though, that's a problem. They're crazy, but they are light, which is always good. No, I think I'll go with alloy. Alloy's light enough. We can hopefully change these wheels. Oh, yes. Do I go with the 16s I truly desire, or the more realistic 15s? Yeah, I think I'll go with 16 inches. 17s look okay, they're actually a little too large for the car though. I don't like these wheels. Yeah, they actually match the regality of it quite nicely, if that's even a word. I just said it, I don't even know if it's a word. Ooh. How about these? They're begging to be even larger, that's the problem. It's hard to say which ones I want. I guess being an 80s sports car, they're kind of relevant. I think the E30 M3 had something similar, so they'll do. And they don't look too stupidly tiny at 16 inches either. We'll go with solid discs on the front of one piston and drums on the rear. Now I do actually have the brake details for the Buick, so what I'm going to do is I'm just going to try and beat the Buick for brakes. Yeah, they're the tyres. The Buick had 245, 255. I've got 205, 225 because it's the widest I can fit front and rear. Yeah. We didn't intend to ever have this much power in the car. It was always supposed to have terrible engines, but then our company ran into financial troubles and we had to just put a powerful engine on whatever chassis we had and hope. There we go. The engine has less space than I would have thought it would lengthwise, but we have plenty of grills. You'll see we have some vents down there. The radiator appears to be sticking through, but I see no way you couldn't fit that radiator at, say, the side of the engine or something. There's just so much space to work with there. So, you know, that's just lazy engineering, putting it on the front. Seriously, guys. Anyway, we have got stuff to do with the brakes. As I was saying, I need to find the brakes. Turns lock to lock 2.8. Yeah, that's not really the information we're after, is it? Ah, there we go. 267mm front brakes. And rear brakes are 241. Right, I'll show you, Buick. Wow. Yeah, that's just going too far. Mind, we have got really narrow tyres, so I'm going with 290s. They're wider than I could ever need on this vehicle, I think, but I don't know. Or maybe 300s. No, 300 just feels too excessive. 295 is as far as I'll push those brakes, but it's hard to say. 290s. The tyres themselves are good even if they are narrow. And the rear brakes, I'm going to maybe try and beat the Buick as well. I don't know. I might just match it on the rear brakes. No, 245. Still larger than the Buick. And that should be done. We've got quite powerful brakes, quite a powerful engine, and tyres that I can only hope put this down properly. Fully clad or semi-clad? Yeah, engineering times average on that. This, to me at least, this looks kind of like an old Mercedes SL. I'm pretty sure it's a muscle car body, but it looks somewhat like a Mercedes SL with a rear end of, I don't know how to say it, a Chevrolet on it. Impala, that was it. The Chevrolet, the 64 Chevrolet Impala. Yeah, it looks like the back of that stuck to the front of a 90s Mercedes SL. Yes, a completely original design. I'm just going to stick loads of cooling to the brakes because I easily have enough for the engine. And I don't want to go blocking off grills or anything. Although I could. I think those grills are already fake ones because they're not really that visible, so I decided to fake those. So it's just all that front grille. I mean, it provides far too much cooling. But hey, we can reuse some of it to the brakes. It's not a whole waste. Now, if we go for... I've gone for the under tray. If we go on to the next menu, we can have 6 seats, apparently. Well, that's probably bench seats. Yes, we want bench seats. No, we don't. I think we want 5 seats on our muscle car. That will give us a bench seat on the rear and 2 independent front seats. It is more of a sports car, so it only makes sense. As much as I would want it to be more of a luxury vehicle, I'm still going to put it on comfort suspension because a lot of muscle cars of this era was, but also I like comfort suspension and how it would bobble about and everything. But yeah, 2 front seats I think has to be, because when a car's capable of the speed this is capable of, you can't just expect a bench seat to hold people in place. The old Chevrolets and Fords and Dodges, Chryslers, whatever, they would have had bench seats and quite a bit of power, but then, truth be told, you would never have been able to achieve that crazy amount of power on the road because the tyres could never put it down properly. Now, we don't want a handmade interior. I don't know what's going on in my head right now, but we want, I think a standard would perhaps be okay. No, premium. Yes, we're going with a premium interior and a premium cassette. We could have power steering. Yeah, the Buick had power steering. And we'll go with anti-lock brakes for good measure. Advanced safety. Doesn't actually weigh that much, so why not? I mean, it adds cost, maybe. Yeah, I'll go with standard safety. It saves a lot of money, actually. More than I would have anticipated. It's over 100, so, you know, we can save a good amount of money on the safety. It's more than the differential, definitely, so more than cancels out the cost of that. And a good differential always does help. Now, pneumatic. Let's go with the fanciest suspension we can find. It's not actually entirely fancy, it's just the springs themselves are fancy. The rest of it's fairly average, actually. Now, what else do we have? 13.9 miles per gallon. But we are finishing up, so, you know, just 1790 kilos of premium interior. Yes. So I'm basically going to adjust the transmission now. Should be a fairly quick job, and then set up the suspension for comfort. I don't think this is too bad. It weighs a lot more than the GNX, but we have huge amounts of torque, so I think we can just about get away with it. Also, we have a manual transmission, although, do we ever stand a chance of competing with that? That was about 5.5 seconds to 60. No, we don't. We don't stand a chance of competing with that for acceleration. Okay, or probably not miles per gallon either. It's a push-rod engine, it's never going to be good at anything. Yeah, that's the distinction. Well, they are probably more reliable, I'll say that now, but push-rod engines aren't good at a lot. So, we're still relatively quick to 60, 6.4 seconds. It's not particularly slow. And we have done it in a heavier car, so that's always something we have to bear in mind, you know. It's not a particularly light vehicle. Problem is all that weight moving around on tyres that aren't that wide and suspension that isn't that advanced. Is that really what you want? I think not. But anyway, I'm going to take it round the track, so I'll rejoin you when I've done that. So I'll say now, I'm quite disappointed in the result. It's at a 2:35.90 time. Now in itself, that doesn't seem too horrible. We have beaten a tortoise turbo after all, but it's below the 80 mile per gallon benevolent Johnson, and that's just not good enough for me. So what I'm going to do is, I think, start by using a 5-speed manual transmission, which, yeah, look at that, 6.7, it's not great, but I'm going to start with this. And then I'm going to dive into the engine and see if there's any small little features I can change that might get me the extra speed I want. Okay, so I have returned with my revisions, and sadly I weren't able to make the car much quicker. If I show you the engine, well, it looks the same because it essentially is the same. You might notice some small differences, but I'll get onto that a bit later. You'll know the wing is here. My engineer, part of my brain, said the boot would open, but I'm not so sure. He might have been lying. Either way, the wing looks cool, so that's always a good thing. Yeah, I've also got a chrome front lip. I'm not sure it looks the best in chrome, but I've done it now and I can't really be bothered changing it. I also fitted some different lights. They don't really work as well, but I had a tiny space to fit them in, so what was I supposed to do with that? Now, I'll just show you the markets. We can make a little profit on it and keep it within $20,000, which I think is what I'll go for. Just showing you that now while we're here, because it's a convenient time. And the weight balance, it's 0.1% more frontwards. and maybe 15 kilograms-ish more than it had before. But it's nothing major, no major difference, especially not considering just how heavy this beastie is. Anyway, we have got to get to the other details. I've shown you the bodywork differences I made. The number plate is also gone. I'll mention that now. I couldn't see a place to fit. I'll just have to say bolt it onto the bumper, but you can't do that in automation. It just doesn't let you. Also, I didn't show you earlier, but there is a chrome strip between the two exhausts. Don't know why I'm showing that now. I just am. Besides, we have the engine to do. Or look at, should I say. So there we go. More lag and more power is basically what I've gone for. 18 horsepower more and some more torque. We're now beating the Buick though for outright specs, which I guess can only be a good thing. Weight is around the same as before, but slightly heavier, you'll see. As is the economy really. And there's not too much to talk about. There's fine details that have changed, but other than that, nothing major. The exhaust is probably the biggest detail. I mean, it was a bit too restrictive at the size it was at. Also, though, I'm thinking I'll put some more muffling on it, because if I go on here, you'll hear it's just all turbo. Yes, so anyway, that's working now because I've, let's just say, dealt with the sound guy. Yeah, that's what I'll go with. Engineering time is high on that though, but it's low on baffled. Reverse flow. They're mufflers, aren't they? Yeah. No, straight through is high. I'm getting confused. Reverse flow is good for noise reduction. That's the one we want. Okay, just double check the exhaust is the right size, because, I don't know, I feel like that could somehow change it, and it has actually. We can make a slightly smaller exhaust, I think, without changing it. It's hard to see, but performance index goes up very, very slightly. I'll also double check the RPM, I don't think I've checked that in a while. Yeah, it still wants to rev to 5200. It just doesn't want to rev that high. I mean, I could make the cam profile really high, but then that would change these things, and I don't want that to happen. Anyway, we do have to move on. The acceleration, yes, I said it's not really changed. It changed slightly because I just adjusted the exhaust, but I couldn't justify 7% more wheel spin to get it to 6.30 to 60, which it could do, technically, but I couldn't justify the wheel spin. Tyres are the same, and they so would have to be, because there's not really an alternative at this point. Although maybe I could make the tyres larger. Nah, let's not bother. Anyway, we have got 2 piston discs on the front now, and 1 piston solid discs on the rear. Also, the wheels, I forgot to mention, they're now magnesium. I have gone through it basically and found ways to make it quicker. It's slow, and obsessively saving, I know. But it is 132 miles per hour. That's not too different from the Buick GNX, so we're not going too crazy there. The Buick GNX apparently does 124, so, you know, even with the downforce, we're not exactly crazy poor for the class. Going to set this up again in case there's minor weight balance changes. And 1810 kilos, so yes, there is. But all this weight means next to nothing. It's very, very slightly changed the weight balance, but this is a surprisingly well balanced car, even with a massive engine on it. Just double check the markets. Yeah, we're selling it for the price I want it to sell for. I think what we will do, though, is slightly improve the interior quality. Where is the interior even? There we go. We'll improve the quality of this stuff. And I don't think we need crazy high quality safety. That'll reduce our profits slightly, I think. Oh dear. No. We'll have low quality assists that'll fail then. As long as the interior feels slightly higher quality. That's all that really matters. Yeah, it's a bit of an odd price, but that'll have to do for us. And I'm going to take you around the test track now and hopefully get a time that's worth my effort. Okay, so we have finally named the vehicle and got a time, which I don't actually have here. but I have noted it down on my leaderboard. It's a 233.51, just below Benevolent Johnson. No, that's not why. Just above Benevolent Johnson, and just below Monster and his kids. And the country. I know, it's embarrassing that this was beaten by the country. A vehicle that had about the same amount of power, yet still weighed more, and only had the same number of driven wheels. But that's just the way things work out sometime. I'm happy, okay? It's in the same second as that. It's not in the same second as an 80 mile per gallon economy car. So at least I can somewhat justify it being less economical. You'll see the name is Micometh, because I'm trying to whip off Mercury and Mercedes here, in terms of name. And the version is just premium. The engine is 4.0T, quite simply, because that's what it is. And I'll just actually pull this engine down a bit so you can see it working in the block. That should be interesting. Look at that. Beautiful. Anyway, I'm going to leave you with a shot of my beautiful engine and say goodbye until another day.